Are you ready to break down the walls and experience a freedom unlike anything before? My goal is to impact your life to let you know you are not alone by covering areas that most won't touch due to shame, guilt, fear, and condemnation. I will give you strength, courage, and actionable items that you can implement into your daily life to help find freedom and have unashamed faith. Welcome to Unashamed Faith. Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of Unashamed Faith with your girl, Nick Marie. You guys, I hope you enjoyed episode 1. Welcome to my life a little bit here. So this is such an uncharted territory, but I know you guys got to learn a little bit about me, and as I mentioned, I'm really letting God and the Holy Spirit guide this, and what this looks like, and what this sounds like, and what I'm sharing with you. And so today was really just an opportunity to kind of talk about my faith walk and my relationship with God. The whole purpose of this, it's unashamed faith. The purpose of this is to share my story, to share my testimony, and to really help someone. I don't know where you guys are at. I don't know where you're coming from. I don't know what walk you have walked. I don't know what valleys you have overcome. I don't know what mountains you have climbed. I don't know what uncertainties you have faced, but I know what mine are, and I know what got me through it. I know the strength that I have on the other side is so much stronger, and I know that I have a love and I have a gift and an anointing to help people. I keep asking God, what is my purpose and what am I meant to do? And it's to impact lives with significance and purpose. Yet at the same time, like each individual day, even this morning was, what are we doing today, God? And it's to save lives, it's to save souls, it's to help someone. And so this is how we're doing it. It's being open, it's being raw, it's being vulnerable, it's being real about what I've gone through, what I've faced, and how I've overcome it to get to the point where I have such an unashamed faith that it is insane. The things that I believe for, the things that I have faith for, the things that I have come through to see the light on the other side, there is no way, there's nothing else that can explain it other than supernatural. And so I'm here to just be that light, to give you permission that it's okay to be in the thick of things, to be in the mud, and to cry out for God's help, and to come out on top. And that alone right there was such a big piece of confirming the steps and the decisions that I have made to go through this. So you guys, like I said, in all honesty, this is going to be about my faith. This will be about God, my relationship. This will be about my past. But one of the things that God led me to even yesterday morning was so powerful, and just asking him on where I go with this and how I'm here to help you, and is this the right direction, and is this the right path, and he led me to Psalms 40 verse 1 through 3 really, but I love to add in verse 4 on this one because he really gave me more on it. But Psalms 41 through 3, I waited patiently for the Lord. He turned to me and heard my cry. He lifted me out of the slimy pit, out of the mud and the mire. He set my feet on a rock and gave me a firm place to stand. He put a new song in my mouth, a hymn of praise to our God. Many will see and fear the Lord and put their trust in him. Verse 4 now goes on to say, blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, who does not look to the proud, and those who turn aside to false gods. Now, let's be real here, y'all. I like breaking that down in every way. I mean, the things that I have walked through. So brief overview of some of that. We kind of touched on it before, but growing up with, the quote unquote bipolar depression, I had anxiety, and that legit, I had some gnarly anxiety until recently. attempted suicides. I dealt with a father that was an alcoholic, that also tried to commit suicide. It's like I would hear sirens and I knew they were coming to our house for that reason. Dealing with, unfortunately, a very dysfunctional marriage of my parents, being an only child, being at the pit of that, not knowing, if I was good, bad, right, wrong, if I was to blame that day or if I was the best kid on the entire earth, leading into really horrible relationships with friends, with boyfriends as well. I had so much self-hate. I had so much just fear of rejection, fear of life, ending up in the hospital. I mean, I've been recently was actually in a car accident. That was just a whole nother shaken where the enemy comes in so hard. I was hospitalized twice since I've moved to San Diego, with a gnarly virus that the doctors have said, like you're stuck with it. This is your life. You know, putting my dad to rest, saying goodbye to that when I was 21 years old and dealing with an alcohol problem and dealing with needing to be fulfilled and needing to be loved. I definitely used sex, drugs, alcohol to numb the pain, to try to fix myself, to think that that was okay and to think that was needed. And the most recent is just I was in a relationship that was, I thought that I truly thought that I was in love. I truly thought, and as much as I tried to say no, but I mean, if he had asked me to kill someone, you guys, I probably would have. Like, I would have done anything for this man's approval, for his love, for his connection, for all of it. I mean, it was one of the most unhealthy, manipulative, controlling, submissive. I lost so much of who I was. Absolutely so much. If you had even known me or seen us behind closed doors, and that type of relationship, I don't even recognize that woman, and I really don't ever want to again. And so I pray that, we can continue to get stuff. But one of the things when I had asked God, someone had said that's going to be a big part, that most recent partnership that you were in. And we did life together. We did business together. I mean, we had a dog. It was insane. Like, I mean, our families knew each other. Just, that was a part of it. It was so much. I was so engulfed in. And so my question to say, was this who this is about? Like, is this who I need to, this is the story that I need to share. And there's so much of it with that. But saying that I've waited patiently, I mean, I have sought the Lord for so many years. I've sought my God. I've gone to church. I've also said that I don't believe in him. I don't trust him. I don't know who he is. Why would he take both my father? Why would he take my stepfather? Why would I have to go through this? Why would I have to watch my mom? Like, I stopped believing in love. I stopped so much. But you guys, to read this, to go, he lifted me out of the slimy pit of the mud and mire. He set my feet on a rock and gave me a firm place to stand. And he put a new song in my mouth, a hymn of praise to our God. I spend my days worshiping him. I know the Nick before that couldn't breathe, that couldn't talk, that something would be so crippling that I literally wanted to take my life because I didn't think it was worthy to be on this earth, that I didn't believe in enough, that there was enough hope, that there was enough light, that something would be better. And let me tell you, boy, was I wrong. I was wrong. I was wrong. I was wrong. But I didn't look to my God. I didn't look to someone else. I looked to every false god. I looked to people that were proud. I looked to people that thought that they could just medicate me and turn me into this numb person, that I would lie to my doctors to say I'm fine, yet I would still want to go home and slit my wrist because I couldn't actually just be walked through the shit that's going on when you're a teenager, even when you're in middle school. It doesn't, like, that system of how things are handled, and I understand that there are definite medical needs and there are definite chemical imbalances, but I also think that majority of that industry is money driven, that it is disgusting, that there are other ways for things to be approached, that you don't just walk in and ask stupid questions and you can't fix supernatural problems in the natural. It does not work. You can't take a medication and you can't supplement that and try to cover something up. There's something so much deeper that is going on. And that medication as well are things like I talked about as well with like the alcohol and the drugs and sex and using that. That's just another form of medicating, of going that route. So through all of these years, I grew up in a non-denominational church back in my hometown. We went and here's the key parts of what I remember. This is apparently how great this church is at like connecting children and people to God, is I remember singing on the choir, and I remember a girl passing out one time. Like, okay. I remember constantly going to choir practice. I remember the potlucks that we would always have after church. I remember like the classrooms downstairs and sometimes learning stuff, but like being so lost and confused. And then I also remember that was like the first place that I drank coffee. And I was like, oh, I don't really like coffee, but I'll put a bunch of cream and sugar in it. That started the cream and sugar obsession with coffee for my life, which now, thank God, I've kicked because I no longer drink caffeine. And that was like my initial relationship with God, was at such a young age. Both my parents were very, very active in the church. And all of a sudden, just one day, we kind of just stopped going. No rhyme, no reason, no explanation that I know of. And I just thought it was interesting, but I just rolled with it. I mean, we were non-denominational, which basically is like Unitarian, like you believe in God, like there's a God, but you don't divide and go with one religion or anything else. You're there and you worship your God. And it's very basic, no major rules. But then there's also the Catholic side. So then that's how both of my parents were raised, very much in the strict Catholic world. And so as I got a little bit older, my friends went to a Catholic church, and I thought that I needed to go to church to be a better person. I thought that would make things okay. I thought that would make things right. Like being there, learning like oh my God, I don't even know what it is. I'm not even Catholic. So like, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, like thinking that I need to live under some rule of something. But I remember being like, I wanted to go with my friends to church because I was like, well, they're going. But we would literally sit and play Snake on our phones. Like I would show up in baggy sweatpants and a sweatshirt. Like we just thought we were cool. And then I do remember same thing, like asking my parents to join the church so we could go more often and doing Bible study again. But I went for a boy because I had such a crush on a boy while there at church. Like never paid attention, never really learned, like still was just like, I want to go for communion because I just want to go for communion and think that I'm an adult and grow up. And so after that, like and then we became the Creasters, you guys. Oh my God, the Christmas and Easter people. Like so ridiculous and so cliche. And I know y'all are still out there and it's cool. I don't judge, but come on. Like, let's be real here. Like, if you're just going to come for that, don't even come. Just don't even, because you need to actually care more about yourself and show up on another day. But that's a topic for another day. You guys will learn a lot about me through this. And then, so I really kind of left that. Then I really said, you know what? When I was like, I walked away completely from the Lord in my 20s, like completely. After I went to college, I faced some really, really gnarly stuff when I moved to Chicago and went to school down there. And some stuff that I don't know if I'm ready to share quite yet, but we'll definitely get there with you. And I moved back home and decided, let's just keep running. Let's just keep going, keep pushing through. Like, what's the next step? What do I have to do to just survive at this point? So lived through my 20s. Did some gnarly dating. Dated a horrible, horrible person, which if you guys want to go find out about the dating thing, head to Bless This Mess, because that is my dating podcast with another one of my amazing girlfriends that I've met on this journey. So you guys can check that out and hear more on the dating stories. But dated someone that was just a horrible mess. I really lost who I was and my identity. And it's really unfortunate
that I wish at that point I did have God or had turned to God. And throughout all of that is when I lost my father. So I was 21 years old, and it was actually very recently. Episode 1 was recorded on the anniversary of his death, the 11 years. But that rocked my world. Rocked my world in every way that I mean, I'm not the same. I won't ever be the same. And it's something that I've had to learn to live with. And it's not even that I live with it, but I've just, there's still days, y'all. Like, I mean, it's as simple as this. Like, I cried on Saturday night to my mom, and I said, hey, like I'm strong. Like, I still was filled with so much joy and so much love and peace in my heart. But it sucks as a 21-year-old to lose your parent, like being a daddy's girl and growing up. And so you lose faith. You lose a belief. Like, why would a God that people say is almighty and powerful and so good and so amazing, why would he take my father away? Why would he allow him to be so sick? Why would X, Y, and Z happen? Like, I sat there. I sat at the foot of him. I mean, he'd be on the couch, he'd be wherever. And I would just cry and beg him and beg and beg and beg him to get better, to try, to want something, to want to be there, to want to be a part of my life. If it wasn't for anything else, like, I mean, hell, like, why not do it for your daughter, right? Like, my thought process after he died was, if my own father can't get better for me, doesn't even want, like, I'm not even good enough for a parent to want to still be around. And that is one of the hardest things, because that person is supposed to love you and cherish you unconditionally no matter what. That's what we're taught. And he would rather die, literally drink himself to death, than be there. And that fucked with me. Like, that right there, I mean, there were issues leading up to that in so many aspects, and the relationship was so dysfunctional once I really learned that he was an alcoholic, when I learned that he really had a sickness. But that was such a battle to overcome, and so I went to every avenue that I could. I went to every other man. I went to every alcohol, did different drugs, slept around with people, trying to find any way to numb that feeling, to feel wanted again by somebody. Like, if they would look at me, oh, at least maybe they'll love me. Oh, at least they'll connect with me. They'll want to spend time with me, whatever that may be. And I just drove myself down this crazy rabbit hole, still stayed away from faith, stayed away from God, stayed away from all of it. Ended up actually getting into things that are witchcraft, like clairvoyance, psychics, crystals, looking to seek anything else. I literally, like, I started dating this guy, and we would do table tipping. Like, the table would raise and tap down, like, spirit, like, hell, if that's not witchcraft, I don't know what is. Like, I look back at it and I mean, like, woo-wee, like, stay away from me now. But, like, I invited so many negative and dark and demonic things into my life just to get answers. Like, I would do that to try to speak to my dad and to find things out. Like, because I was like, he's gone and he's done and it's left. Like, oh my goodness. And we would go to our clairvoyant every Sunday, and we would go before football, because, y'all, especially in the winter, you know us Packer fans, like, we would go and we would call that our church. That was our church. We didn't do anything else on Sundays, like, and we would rely on that. And I don't know, like, so I just avoided what actual church was. Like, I was like, I remember being so sassy. I was like, I don't need to go to a church to have someone judge me and tell me how I'm supposed to be and how I'm supposed to live in order to believe in a higher power. And let me tell you, boy, was I mofo wrong. Like, because the last place that I've been judged is actually at my church. That is the craziest part. And so my ex and I, we did that. We constantly spent time there seeing, the clairvoyance, seeing other people, seeing so many things, and we split up. And I remember sitting in my office. I was a marketing manager, and just at my desk in the back and crying and crying and crying. It was a Monday night. And all I could feel was, I need to go to a church. I need to go somewhere. Like, God had put it on my heart. Like, I was just bawling my eyes out. So I Googled, as always, and I'm like, what church is available on a Monday night, right? Happened to be the one that's behind my house, my old house. My ex and I split, so he was still there at our house. And I moved out, but it was literally in our backyard. So, of course, because we still talked and did whatever. And I was like, oh, I have to pick up some mail. I want to see our dog. Like, so I parked at our house and I like walked over to the church because it was right there. Like, we would watch the services happen all the time. And so I started going there, and it was a Lutheran church. And that was probably one of the first times that I actually felt the most connected with God, felt the most like just opportunity. You know, we would worship and I would cry. It was the opportunity to learn the Bible a little bit better, and hear some stories and be able to kind of be talked through some of the verses and the chapters. And so I definitely felt a pull. I started going. I would put my name down to either bring something and volunteer a little bit, but I never really got too heavily involved in that aspect, and decided to just kind of dwindle off because it never felt comfortable. It never felt like a home. And I knew that because, I mean, you've got this gut feeling. I mean, I've been having conversations with people lately and they're like, how do I know? And you'll know. I mean, you're like, you have to trust your gut. You've got to know that there's something inside of you. I mean, God speaks to you through your body and through your language and your feelings and your gut. Like, we are created in the image of God. And the way that I look at this is that if He is our creator and He has created us in His image and in His likeness, then that means that we are Him as well. So then when Him and I communicate, I mean, until you really get to have an intimate relationship with Him, you don't know if it's you or him. But when it gets so close and you know his character and you know who he is, you know without a doubt that it is him speaking to you. I mean, there are moments I just start laughing sometimes and I'm like, God, you are funny. You are so funny because he knows me. He created me. Like, he knows how I talk. Like, him and I sit in the car and I'm like, for real, like, this is what today, this is what's going on. Like, I know you know how I feel, but come on. And I mean, because that's like, sometimes that's just how I am. And so that's how him and I have to communicate. But I had to leave that church. And so I spent a little bit more time away from the church until I moved to San Diego. And I was seeing someone right when I moved to San Diego pretty soon after. We had been set up with mutual friends, both from Wisconsin. So it kind of worked out nicely. And we went to an amazing Christian church in Rancho Santa Fe. But it was that same thing. I was like, I am literally just filling a seat. I took notes, I listened, I worshiped, but I was so numb. Just numb to the world, numb to being like, can we leave and go watch football? Can we leave and go have a drink? What does everyone think of me right now? Like, okay, will we ever be a married couple that's here? Oh, look at all the children. Everyone's dressed so nice. We're in like one of the richest areas of San Diego. It was like, I mean, it felt more like a show and a spectacle than actually having a relationship and knowing and learning from God and about God and being just with him in that way. And so it wasn't until last year when I was in this really messed up relationship and partnership, and I call it a relationship because the story is very complex in a way, and it doesn't make sense to anyone. It didn't to us, and it didn't to anyone else that tried to understand it while we were in it for 2 years. But we were sitting there. We were at where were we? We were in Balboa, and it was right before Christmas last year. And he goes, and I'm singing the Christmas songs that are coming on, and he goes, I know you want to go to church. He goes, I will take you to church. boy, I don't think he knew that his life was about to get fucked up with me going to church. And drastically change, especially the dynamic between the two of us. And so I flew home for Christmas, and I came back, and we went to church, and I got rocked. Like, I was there, and I was like, okay, this is interesting. This is a new ball game. Like, this is different. And I remember meeting a couple people like that night when we were there, and they would, you fill out like a new card, and they get your information. And so definitely did that, mostly because I got a free coffee and it was cold out. But now it's like the relationships and the people that I found, like, when that happened, was so amazing. And I was able to truly dive in. So, of course, when you find this place and you're like, there's something that's pulling. I remember texting my mom, like, we had to go to dinner after that and go meet a friend, because it's got a Sunday night service at 5 o'clock. So we went to that. It was crazy. It was long. It was amazing. I got to worship. We got to sing and dance. Like, we hid in the very back, darkest of corners, you guys. It was so funny. Like, or it's like tapping the foot, but you're like, oh, don't move too much. Like, we might look weird, like those crazy people down there raising their arms and throwing stuff up, and like, what's up with this? Like, it was insane to me. And side note, I'm now that crazy person that is up there, like, at the front worshiping. And we left, and I'm like, okay, texted my mom, and I'm like, it was modern, is what I could say. I was like, it felt like we were at a concert, because there's like the stadium seating, and I'm like, we're straight up at a concert. And like, the message was great. It was actually Shredder Sunday. So we got to like write all of the things that we wanted to get rid of. So the other part that I loved about this, though, is because I'm so big on personal development. One of my old companies was business and personal development, and I still coach people and still work with people, but I was really focused on that. And like, how can I learn more to help people? How can I continue to bring people like that to a stage to cultivate this? And so it was really talking about, we can't go into the new year without shredding and leaving the past in the past, leaving things behind. And so that, just even doing that exercise, and then we put oil on it and you shred, like, you literally, there were shredders everywhere at the church. Like, what kind of church has actual shredders that we all just go shred stuff at? I was blown away and thought it was actually like one of the coolest things. And so we handled that, which was wonderful. And I just kept feeling this inkling to go back and to go back and to go back and to go back. One of the girls that I had met, that this person who had brought me, who he had introduced me to, later on I find out other things, just even here we go. And that was like the final straw. But it was, I would like text her and be like, hey, I think I'm going to actually come today. Like, and so I'm trying to figure out how to like phrase this for you guys, because like sometimes I just don't have the words and how this is gonna go. I'm letting God lead this. But this gentleman that brought me, we obviously still had a good relationship at the time, and we had a huge thing happening at the beginning of the year that we do with one of our businesses, and so we were really, focused on that. But we started obviously going to church more often. And I was like, hey, like, I'm going to go. Like, you don't have to, but I'm extending the invite because I want to go back. And he would pick me up, and we would go to church every Sunday. And I remember, though, at the beginning, I knew, for one, he was Muslim. But because of the relationship that we had and the control that I felt like I was under, or that I was under, I couldn't fully open. Like, I was still being timid. And it's like I could feel the foot tapping to the worship. I could feel like when a pastor would speak, but I just couldn't fully open. And I didn't understand what that was really. Now I look back and I know, but I just remember being like, I'm stuck between such a rock and a hard place that I feel like my body wants to do one thing, my mind is doing another, my heart is doing another. And so I just sit in this chair and I freeze. Like, I take notes, but I freeze, but I'm like, there's something is happening to me. Something is changing in me. Something is speaking to me. Like, is allowing me to just understand God. And now, I mean, I look and it's God like pulling, like knocking on my door to say, come to me, daughter, come back to me. Like, it's okay. And I just got to the point where there was finally that one day where at the end during the altar call where it's like, if you've ever been away from him, if you've never known Jesus in your life, if you've and you've walked away, if you're feeling these struggles and this pull, but your heart is racing, if that is you, like with every head bowed and every eye closed, raise your hand. Jesus wants to know you again. He wants to be a part of it, like, and be in your life and love you and share this with you. And so remember, like, we're just sitting there. And so I raised my hand being like, no one's gonna know, right? All the heads are bowed, all the eyes are closed, like no one's gonna know. We're okay. So I raise my hand and then they're like, okay, yeah, you can put it down. And then it's like, everybody stand and let's say this all together. And then they're like, so the people that raised their hands, we want to pray with you. I'm like, oh, and I was like, but nobody saw it, right? So we're cool. I'm like, I don't have to own it and go down. And then I'm looking at the he that came with me, you know, we'll figure out a name for him at some point. And I'm just like, should I go? And I'm like, I don't know. And I see this woman at the end who happens to be on the prayer team, and she's like flagging me down, like, come out this way. And I'm like, oh my God, 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 oh my God. And I go down. And I'm standing up there crying. My girlfriend, who I started kind of spending some more time at church with, she saw that I walked up there. She saw that I was crying. So she followed me up there to come with me because they take you into this room to pray. And I'm just bawling my eyes out. And I'm in this room. And let me tell y'all, I was so triggered. Like, if we're being honest about my Christian walk right now and this walk to find Jesus, I was so pissed off at the person that was praying over me. She kept asking me questions, and y'all, I was just like, why does this bee want to know so much of my life? Why does this person want to be so involved? And I'm like, can't you just pray for me and we be done? Like, can't that just fix it? Like, little did I know on this walk. And so we're continuing to sit in there. And she prays, and I'm crying, and I'm like, I don't have any more, because the people that I'm with, too, are like people that I'm complaining about and crying about and frustrated with, and they're sitting out there. They were there. They know that I'm going through this. It's two males, and I'm just like, I want to be done. I'm physically exhausted. I'm mentally exhausted, and I am beyond emotionally exhausted, and so I'm just like, something's gotta shit. Like, okay, let's pray and let's go. And we get done and I just walk. She prays and I'm like, okay, this is interesting, but this is intense. Like, I've never really had this before. I'm not sure how to like handle this and how to take this. Like, I've never been prayed over like that. It was just the strangest thing to me. And I didn't understand it. And we leave and I'm like, okay, we're good. We're done. Like, I knew I would come back to church, obviously, but I just never understood, you know, I didn't know what happened that night. And so we left and I didn't really want to talk about it. And of course they're like, everybody's like, oh, did they sell you on something? Are you a part of the cult now? They brought you in. And I'm just like, I don't know, maybe not. I don't really know what just happened. Like, I'm still processing through because I'm like, did I just get saved? Like, didn't even really realize. And so kept coming back for the next couple Sundays, but not long after that, about, I want to say like 3 weeks after that, was our freedom night. And that is where everything shifted. And freedom night really talks about your freedom from everything that's going on, everything that happens, and what freedom is, how we become oppressed, how we fall under, you know, the enemy, how we allow things to get in, where we're at, the fear, the depression, the anxiety, the control, the rejection, the resentment, the anger, the mockery, everything that goes along with it. And I learned so much that night. And that was the night that, you know, I went up there and I got prayed over because I said I knew I needed something. I was learning from all of the mistakes that I made, all of the sins that I had committed, all of the way that I lived my life. I knew whatever I was doing sure as heck was not working. So I got to figure something else out because I was not okay. I was not happy. I was an angry person, miserable. I mean, we were fighting all the time. I was so unhappy, you guys. Death would have been better. Like, I was so unhappy. I tried to make excuses to think that I was better, to be okay, but I was not. I mean, I wasn't. And so this gentleman prayed over me and he said, "Are you saved? Like, do you know Jesus?" And I just looked at him and I said, "I don't know." Because I really didn't. And he goes, "Okay, before I do anything else, like, we need to commit, you need to commit your life to Jesus again." I said, "Okay." So I repeated after him, and he goes, "Now I want to pray for you." But he goes, "I would feel much more comfortable if a female did." I said, "I'm cool with that. Like, I respect that." And lo and behold, it was his wife standing next to us, that she was also on the ministry team, to be able to pray with me. And we started the journey of forgiveness. And it started with forgiving my dad, was the thing that came up. And so that's why it was just such a crucial point of starting this on his anniversary, because so much of the things that I've gone through stem from that, and stem from a lot of the other pieces that played into it after the fact, before his death, during that time after his death, and even up until now. And so that is where my true walk and my true journey really started. And I finally started to experience a freedom to get to know God. And then so much more happened later that night. And that we're saving for another episode, because there is drama that happened. That was like a 5-hour night at church, y'all. And it changed my life. It changed the trajectory. It changed, I don't even know the woman that walked in the door that night. I think it was like March 4th. And it was right after my dad's birthday, of course. I don't know that woman, and nor do I ever want to know her again, but I will love her, I will respect her, and I will honor her through this entire journey, as I have already. But that has been my journey to Christ and to my amazing Father God, and we're just going to keep learning and growing and experience there. But that was that final turning point of being saved and saying, I have a new life. I am reborn. I've dedicated my life to Christ, and I'm beyond blessed. I'm beyond joyful. I'm beyond happy. I have had one of the toughest years of my entire life trying to walk through this and trying to understand it. But I can tell you that nothing happens to me at all. It happens for me. And I am never alone in the storm. I am never alone in the fire. I am never alone in this walk, even though I may feel like it sometimes. I'm never alone, because I have the greatest Father that is here with me and guiding me and helping me and leading me. So I thank you guys so much for coming on this journey, for being a part of Unashamed Faith. If you are lost right now, if you've stepped away from God, if you've never known Him, it's absolutely okay. He still loves you. He still wants you. I love to answer any questions that you have. If I have an answer, I will absolutely answer it. If I don't know the answer, I will do whatever I can to help guide you to where you need to go or to get it. But this is a place for love. This is a place for, open and rawness and real. And again, remember, there is a person behind this. So if you don't have kind things to say, I just keep them to yourself. Take them to God then. I don't know. But I am here, and this is me sharing and being vulnerable with you guys. And I hope that it's here to save a life, and it's here to help someone to know, again, you guys, you're not alone. Someone else has walked a crazy, crazy walk and gone through some gnarly stuff. And that there is light, and there's hope, and there's freedom at the other side of all of it, that you can walk through it, and I will be there with you. And I'm excited to catch up with you guys next time on Unashamed Faith. We will see where God wants us to take it and what we're going to talk about. But I know we'll dive into more of what happened that night, because that was a real shocker to a Christian life and to some of the things that I knew nothing about. We're going to have to go pull some old notes. But I love you guys. I appreciate you. You guys can reach out to me on Instagram at @IAM_Nick, N-I-K, Marie. Feel free to shoot me a DM, shoot any questions, screenshot this, tag me, let me know what you thought. If you've got any questions, comments, reviews, anything like that. I appreciate it. I love it. Make sure you guys download, subscribe. But I hope you have an absolutely blessed day. And I thank you and love you. Adios.